In the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Amen.
The Bible doesn't tell us very much about Joseph. In fact, he disappears from the gospel stories while Jesus is still a toddler, except for that tiny cluster of verses in Luke where Jesus is 12 and Mary and Joseph left him behind in the temple, which doesn't really put him in the best light. But we know enough about him to feel like he's a likable guy. Certainly his family would have known about the engagement, perhaps others, and all of a sudden he discovers that Mary's pregnant. It's hard to imagine the hurt, the sense of betrayal he felt, their intimate relationship violated before it even got started. And he didn't even know who the father was. Now, Joseph could have taken vengeance, turned Mary into an outcast, possibly gotten her stoned to death. That was an offense that could be punished capitally. But Joseph, unwilling to expose her to public disgrace, planned to dismiss her quietly. In that part of the world at that time, that was very merciful and admirable and noble. And I suspect that Joseph's reaction was exceptionally rare in that place and in that time. But then his life got a lot stranger because he had a dream. An angel appeared to Joseph and encouraged him to go through with the marriage because the baby she carried in her womb came from the Holy Spirit and would rescue people from sin in fulfillment of a prophecy. I think most people, both then and now, would wake up from a dream like that and go, wow, that one was weird. Maybe the stress of all this is driving me crazy. And then, even if we remembered the dream once we woke up, we would quickly forget it or at least explain it away before breakfast. But Joseph, described by Matthew as a righteous man, woke up and believed the dream. Somehow he accepted that the angel was real and its message was true, and that the message had a claim on his most important life choices, despite the risk. And there was great risk in this. Every prospective parent with a shred of common sense feels at least a little fear when they are expecting. There are so many unknowns. Can I do this right? How will it all turn out? Will my child be healthy? When they grow up, will they be special? And if so, in what way? Will my daughter cure cancer? Will my son wind up in prison? There are different ways of being special. But think if an angel came to you and said, your child will be beyond special. Your child will be unique. The Son of God, who will someday, when he grows up, save his people from sin. That's scary. First off, not everybody wants to be saved from their sin. We all experience that, enjoy being indulged by some sinful behaviors, and would rather be left alone. Much like St. Francis, as he contemplated entering holy orders, he prayed to God, "Oh God, make me chaste, but not yet. Second, who was going to believe Joseph? And for those who did believe him, and for those who don't, how do you think they're going to react? Sure, some people would shrug their shoulders and move on with their days. Some would follow him. No telling what type of gang that would wind up to be. Others would view Jesus as crazy at best, at worst as a serious threat, a liar, leading people astray. And do you really think those people would just sit there and do nothing? Had to cross Joseph's mind that God only knows what his opponents would try to do to stop his son. Now, without doubt, Joseph was an unusually faithful and courageous man. That's probably part of the reason why God chose him. But we need to stop putting people in the Bible like Joseph on a pedestal and assume that they are above all of these common mortal emotions, like the wondering and the worrying every parent goes through to one degree or another. If he had any sense, and remember, Joseph worked as a tekton, as a carpenter and cabinet maker and furniture maker, someone who was smart, who had skills. The man had to be a little scared at this revelation. And he went through it anyway, apparently without a moment's hesitation. He dreams, he wakes, he does. It's amazing, and it's humbling. How many times has one of us ignored an important message from God because it just seemed too incredible? As Ebenezer Scrooge said of Jacob Marley, "You're just a bit of mustard or an undigested piece of meat." There's always an excuse out there. When we wake up from the dream and open our eyes and close them again and go back to sleep, if we remember it, finding a way to explain it away. Or maybe, just maybe, we pay attention to the dream and puzzle over it and try to figure out what it means. Even then, though, we begin to realize that following the dream may not fit in with our plans, with what we want out of life. These God-given dreams can be a lot of trouble. They can seem impossible. And of course we ask, why me? God wouldn't choose miserable little me to play a role in something that really matters, so big that it could radically alter a single life, much less change the course of human history. And besides, it's just too risky. Taking the responsibility, accepting the potential consequences, all on the basis of a message received in a dream that may or may not have come from God. But without dreams, what a pitiful existence we lead. And without God, life is hopeless. Joseph fades from the story so fast, we hardly notice him. He basically was there because he was the house of David, and that was one of the boxes you had to tick to be eligible to be the Messiah. I mean, we've not sung about Joseph today, we've sung about Mary. She has her own color candle. Joseph doesn't. Even the Magi, those wise men three, pagans all, got more attention than Joseph did. But we do need to focus on Joseph because he shows us how to listen. He shows us how to listen to the dream and obey the call of God. Yes, he was summoned to a unique, extraordinary purpose, greater than almost any other. However, God also calls us in different yet still very important ways to help bring Jesus into the world, despite the scandal and the potential embarrassment and the danger. With rare exception, each of us, like Joseph, will fade from the story. Our faithfulness all but forgotten as the tide of history sweeps away our footprints like the ocean tide on the shore. But while we are still here, God has given us the opportunity to make a mark, to leave a legacy, not necessarily in stone or steel or brick, but we can leave a legacy. Like Joseph with Mary, we can show mercy instead of being bitter and resentful and vengeful when someone does us wrong. Because sometimes, like Joseph, when we think we've been wronged, we're mistaken. And God just might be involved with that, just as he was involved with getting Mary pregnant. In our world, filled with so much hatred and suspicion and rage and blame, if all we managed to do was obey God enough to be consistently, unselfishly, courageously merciful, even if just for a single day, what a dream that would be. What a service to the glory of God. What a witness to the love of Jesus. And let's face it, what a relief. That healing grace powered by the Holy Spirit just might catch on, you never know. And someday, our children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren might sing the words, peace on earth, goodwill towards men, and regard them as more than a dream.